First versus second, Liverpool against Manchester City at Anfield. When it comes to English football these days, it doesn't get any bigger than this game. Stevie, I feel compelled to start with you from a Liverpool perspective. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling confident, absolutely. And the reason I'm feeling confident is because Manchester City at the back they're weak, but there's the chance that they can be a shambles. So when I look at what Liverpool have got going forward, if Liverpool put them under pressure early and get a sniff of something, this is going to be a tough old game for Man City defensively.
8 games without a clean sheet for Liverpool, though, going into this. Yeah,
that's a bit of a concern, but at the same time, I think Liverpool's got more than a goal in them. And if I'm putting my money on any defence at all in a big game, it's going to be Liverpool. You know, Van Dijk is up for Player of the Year for a reason, not only for his own personal, or the way he has been playing personally, but the way he galvanises and pulls the defence together. So, listen, I'm going into this game a lot more confident than I was this time last year.
0-0, of course, last year. Is it going to be similar? Is it going to be that sort of...
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know, you look at Liverpool, you think, right, unbeaten start to the season. Then you look at the run from the end of last year. Then you look at the record at home, particularly against City. It's pretty good in recent years. And then you look at the problems City have had. I mean, say problems by their standards with the teams that they've lost to. The other side of the coin is, and whilst a defeat wouldn't be obviously clearly not great for Liverpool, it's not a disaster. No. However, on the other hand, you know, 9 points, whilst not insurmountable, is a huge gap, even at this time of year. So the pressure is firmly on Manchester City not to blow up in the face of, you know, at least 1 or 2 bad defensive performances this season. If they have another one of those at Anfield, they could lose by 2 or 3 if they have a bad defensive performance.
Is a draw a good result for both, and could that affect the match?
Yes, I don't think it changes Liverpool's perspective in terms of how good they are at the top of the league. And for City, as Craig rightly points out, you don't want to see this gap becoming 9, because then all of a sudden you really start to believe it's insurmountable. And that's the challenge here for Manchester City. We know what you're going to get out of Liverpool. That's not going to change. But given what we saw from City this time last year in this very, very fixture, given that the problems that they have at the back in particular, and now no Ederson, looks like Claudio Bravo is going to start, I think they take a point all day, every day.
Will that play into the game as it develops? Say if it's tight, say there isn't much in it, are we going to see teams not taking the same risks that they would, for example, if it was...
Liverpool will go for this, 100%. They absolutely. I think City have no choice but to do what they did last year and be a little cautious.
Right.
Because with the back line they have, they cannot go to Anfield and say, OK, what? Let's just make this man on man. This is a game. Let's just open this game up and go for it and see who wins. Because there's only going to be one winner. Because if they leave holes, Liverpool will kill them going forward. So Manchester City are going to have to be a little deeper, a little tighter, and regardless of the score, Liverpool will, from start to finish, play their game and go after it.
For those that saw yesterday's show, we had Don Hutchinson on saying that 100% he was sure that Ederson was going to play this game. He's out, definitely. So thanks for that, Don.
Well, I mean, it's much a guessing game, isn't it?
Well, that dude was very convinced.
Until somebody says, like, Guardiola, well, no, he's actually out. It's a guessing game.
Big loss, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but I think there are bigger problems for them, and that being the back 4 or the back 3, whatever it is he decides to do at the weekend. I mean, he's got a very experienced goalkeeper coming in. OK, one that's not going to utilise the ball at his feet in any way, shape or form in the same capacity. But he's got a good, experienced keeper coming in. The problem is how are they going to handle that front 3? If Firmino has... I keep touching on this guy, but if he has, and he's been a little off at times recently, but if he has a big performance in terms of holding the ball, linking up, his movement and dragging the centre-backs out, then Mane and Salah making those little out-to-in diagonal runs in behind are going to kill them. So, you know, that front 3, how they handle that front 3 clearly is going to be a huge part in who wins this game.
How's Bravo's head going into this? Obviously got sent off midweek.
Yeah, but I don't think plays in Bravo's mind in terms of, you know, how he approaches this one. And at times it's almost easier to be a second string when there's not a whole lot of expectation on you, and you know you're not going to be playing in the long term. You expect Ederson to be back sooner rather than later. So I don't feel that as being an issue, certainly with him as an individual. I think the bigger question mark is how this affects City as a team. Now, especially given the problems that City have at the back, and you do want to have the regular goalkeeper there just to have some level of consistency. But more to the point, Ederson and his passing range. If City do have these defensive issues, if you do see City sitting a little bit deeper than ordinarily they would against anybody else in the league, then Ederson's passing range becomes a huge asset. Without it, you just don't see how City get the other side of Liverpool. It's a threat that Liverpool don't have to contend with. And as a result, it makes it easier for them to defend against City.
City's got to answer all the questions. For Liverpool, it's turn up and play.
Right.
You know, if they do go deep, if they do try and play out the back, because you know they will, his passing range is not absolutely anywhere close to Ederson. And what do Liverpool love doing at Anfield? Closing people down for fun. Are City going to really end up kicking the ball to Liverpool all the time? I just don't see any way how Pep is going to tell them just to let it go. And that is going to cause them all sorts of problems. All the questions and answers are all on City's side for me.
And of course, selection as well. So we welcome Gab Marcotti in. We know Ederson's out. Rodri's a doubt. David Silva's about a doubt as well, Gab. How do you think he's going to set this up? Fernandinho in defence or midfield?
There's been a lot of talk about this. There's been suggestion that they might go 3 at the back, possibly with Kyle Walker in the 3 and maybe Cancelo on one flank and Raheem Sterling on the other, and go 3-5-2, Jesus and Aguero up front. The idea being that against teams that have set up that way, those are teams that have created some problems for Liverpool of late. It just seems to me like that's a pretty big change to make all of a sudden, especially with that personnel. So my guess is that they'll probably stick with their usual formation. But like you said, I mean, Rodri and David Silva, those are 2 huge absences for different reasons. And also remember, boys were talking there about what happens if City have to sit and kick the ball long, and it becomes maybe more of a physical game. Certainly Rodri is one of the guys who can provide some physical presence and some height to this team. So again, if he misses out, that's another issue for Pep.
I think the one thing this City team needs, and I know Rodri's a good player and a much younger player than Fernandinho, but I think one thing this City team needs is the centre-halves to be fit and playing well enough that he can shift back into that position that he has done such a good job for the last 24, 36 months. He's been arguably the best at covering full-back, centre-half, stepping back in, stepping out, breaking play up, getting them on the front foot. He's been injured, in and out, and he's been shifted from pillar to post because of the problems. And I think the sooner they can solve all these issues, then obviously the better. The problem is they can't afford to be 9 points behind by the time they solve it.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.